Okay.
And we're live. They go ahead and introduce your spiel, your thing you do. I'm gonna stop my video while I set up the live.
Hey, Erica. Hey, Jared. Hi, Lonnie. Who's that? Aida? Trying to see who else is coming in. D. You guys can say hi to everybody. It's not just me. Hi, Alexis. Juju. Hey. Got some people coming in.
Hey. I wanted to show all the names. Let me check.
Hey, Jackie. Jabari. Christina. Oh, nice.
Hey everybody, how are you guys? I'm super excited. We're just gonna wait just a few minutes, give everybody a chance to pour on in. Our panelists are ready. We're all ready for this final episode. So let's give it, what time is it? Let's give it 2 more minutes.
Benny, close that door.
You know, we really got to get some music playing. I love staring at y'all, but next time we gonna have to. Maybe DJ Triumph can make us a playlist.
I got you next time. I got you.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Boop, boop. All right. 1 more minute, then we're gonna get started because we have got so much good stuff to get to.
Let me know if I can play this.
Started. Let me turn on my camera so you guys can see me. I feel like I'm underdressed this time. I feel like everybody came with the goodness, and I just came in a t-shirt. But to be fair, my shirt says cool things. Okay. You know, I'm about this t-shirt. Like, there you go, Ken. Ken, do it for the t-shirt game one time.
Wait, I have a t-shirt too.
It doesn't count under your fancy blazer. Okay.
But it's there.
Meth came slaying to the gods. There we go. Oh, you're muted. Hold on. All right. See, we're getting rid of our tech support stuff now. All right. So let's get into it. Hello. Hold on. Hello. This is the 3rd episode of 3H Table Talk, and it is the end of the month. I don't know about y'all, but I'm exhausted. Okay. It has been so much learning, so much growing this month that I'm just about grown out. I need a break. And I know y'all need a break. But this is our last episode of the month, and I saved the best for last. And I'm so excited to get started. I don't want to waste another minute with y'all. So this is our February, our first monthly series of Table Talk, and we're talking about growing where you're planted. And through the month, we have gone through Growing Where You're Planted Homestead Edition, where we talked about, growing in our gardens and growing, starting a garden and saying, well, we're stuck here anyways. What are we going to do? And for people that already had spaces set up, we talked about how we don't do social media envy and how to be grateful for what you have and how to use that to multiply in the space that you're in. Then we went over to hustle and we said, you know what, we're just going to keep the growth coming. And we're just going to say, you know what, no matter where we are in our career, no matter where we are in our personal development, we're going to keep pushing and we're going to take advantage of where we are right now. Last week, we were joined by some fabulous panelists who talked to us about, you know, resume writing and starting your hustle and the investments that you have to make. You know, I could explain it. I could, and it would probably be really good. But, you know, I'm a geek, y'all. I put together a recap because I'm extra. So we're going to watch the recap for just a moment and take some stock into the wins that we were able to put this together, and y'all kept showing up to support us, and, you know, all of the fabulous panelists who gave us their time. So here's the recap.
So I said, you know what? I got a big backyard. Why don't I build my own garden? And that's where I began. I just literally went home one day, set up stuff, and just kept digging and digging. And the more I dug and the more plants I put into my space, the happier I became. So I was like, well, if I feel good about this, why don't I grow some food? So I went and bought some seed starts from Home Depot, planted them in my garden, and I've been gardening ever since. So that's how my journey began. To me, gardening is not about food, it's about the healing process.
And they would double it again. And it's like, but if it's not working, then is there something else? And for something to me, just I didn't realize soil costs so much. I didn't realize that soil takes so much to fill up. But I walked in and out of that store with one $5 gift certificate at a time, getting a bag of Miracle-Gro soil, getting one of this and one of that. And in the end, I had about 20 bags of like soil and mulch. I had a few seed starts. I had a few seeds. And I went home and got me some little plastic cups. And I couldn't build for nothing. And I wasn't fixing to spend all that money on wood. So I got me a swimming pool. And that swimming pool is still popping, deflated and all.
We know where we started. Let's go on to this is my favorite part. Let's talk about what we're looking forward to. What are we getting for what are we getting?
And it made me realize Black people need to buy food from their own people. You know, I don't have a problem with who people vote for, but it's the fact that Black people have been pushed out of farming to the point where they only have a choice to purchase food from people who hate them. And
but I do think that there is going to be sacrifice, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, hustle means that you're able to conceptualize what these sacrifices are going to be before.
No, one of the things that I didn't know was negotiation. That's a skill you need to learn. And I don't just mean negotiating a salary. I am talking about negotiating anything, okay? You might be negotiating your PTO. You might be negotiating the time that you spend in the office versus the time where you're remote. That is a skill that they do not.
How bad do you want it? Because you're not going to do any of this if you're not connecting with your why. And we spoke about that last night in the class. But if your why isn't great enough to get you up at 4 a.m., to keep you working past, and maybe, you know, sometimes I make dinner for breakfast so that I don't have to get up from my desk. You know, sometimes that means, you know, if it's a money thing, sometimes it means, like Kira said, packing her lunch. I hope you really do eat lunch too. Like, I was like, ooh, Kira diet plan, got to try that one. you know, you're not going to show up for something that, you know, they say your heart is where your treasure lies. If you can see how much a person cares about things, but where they spend their time and where they spend their money. If you're not willing to sacrifice, then you have to sit back, and it's not a bad thing. Sit back and say, how bad do I really want this? Okay, so you see why I'm so excited about this? Because literally, it was so great. It was so great every episode, but I think, I don't know, just something in my spirit tells me that this one is going to be the best one yet. So I want to introduce all of you to the final episode of February, 3H Table Talk, Healing Edition. We're talking growing where you're planted. So, as you know, my name is Vanessa, and I am an urban homesteader and backyard gardener in the Metro DC area. I am a food activist, and my whole goal is to get Black people growing again, in and out of the garden. I'm not going to get too much into, you know, the specifics of me as where I am now, but I want to take this time, and throughout the other talks, you guys have heard me kind of just push my intro into, you know, and make the focus my panelists, and they definitely are the focus of this table talk. But I wanted to take a minute because I felt like I owed you guys my story. And this is not something that I share all the time, but I've been saving it for this episode because I want you to know where I'm coming from when I put events like this together. So if you read any of my articles, you see that I talk about where I came from as far as, you know, my family's from Jamaica. They had a farm. I grew up, you know, I wasn't raised around food insecurity because I was part of a village that fed each other. But the healing part of gardening, the food insecurity piece made sense to me. What I did not anticipate was the healing that I received from something that also made sense for my family. If you listen to enough of my stuff, you know that I myself have suffered from anxiety, and that is the easy part of this conversation for me. My son is on the spectrum. He has autism, and that was an activity that we could do together. The textures and, you know, getting outside, and they've used that type of therapy with outdoor classrooms in his school. So that made sense to me. But I want to bring you to a time in my life where I was literally on the top of my game. I had a business that was pulling in close to 6 figures. I worked for myself. I, you know, had everything I'd ever wanted. I was traveling. I was doing, you know, all the things that I'd wanted to do. I'm making money doing it. I'd gone to my family home to visit, and I grew up in a big family. I have a huge family, like a Jamaican huge family. And I helped to raise 2 of my nephews. And one of my nephews was my first kind of encounter with special needs when I was much younger, and helped to raise him. Sweetest child you will ever meet. He was my first real baby. If you ever hear me talk about him, he was my first baby. He was the chubbiest little thing ever. And I spent a lot of time with him, and I had a lot of guilt moving for my own family, moving from South Florida to the DC area, because he had just been diagnosed with schizophrenia and suffered from multiple mental health disorders as a Black man. And you know, that was hard for us because in a West Indian culture, we weren't taught anything about mental health. We were taught in my family, you don't cry unless you're bleeding. Things don't hurt, people have it worse. And you push things under the rug and it'll eventually go away. And so we were bred on that. And so when we dealt with mental health issues, when it dealt with our own children, we just didn't know how to handle it. So I go to the family home, and the conversation that I had with this wonderful young boy was, we were in the kitchen and he says to me, Nessa, I just want you to be happy. You are so beautiful. And not thinking anything of it, I give him a hug and he goes to his room. I go back to my home in the DC area a couple weeks later, and again, on top of my game, as happy as life could be, I received a text message that morning he had took his life. And everything changed for me that day. And nothing made sense. Everything, what was on the ceiling was now on the floor, and nothing made sense to me. And in trying to recoup myself, it was either turn to things that probably wouldn't be good, or find refuge in a new hobby. And so I went to Aldi and I was grocery shopping one day, and I got a raised garden bed. And I thought, I could do this. I was raised around this. I started a garden. And can I tell you that experience, although it seems like, okay, she started a garden, in my life that no longer made sense, in my life that I had no control over, I was dealing with every emotion under the sun. This made sense. This is one part of my life that I could control to a point where I knew that if I put my heart and soul into this, I can relatively control the outcome. And for me at that time, I nurtured this garden like I'd wish I had the time to nurture this boy. And it stuck with me what he said to me, and it sticks to me to this day, that you need to focus on being happy. That is the only thing that he wanted for me as a 17-year-old boy, to see the importance of mental health and that being happiness, not the money, not the flight, not the clients, that being happy is what matters. I turned everything around, and I've never had the passion for a for-profit business since that day. And so from that moment on, I devoted my life to making other people happy and fixing what really needed to be fixed in this community. And at first I thought it was, I'm going to advocate for kids with special needs. And that wasn't my calling. It was this. It was having these conversations with you guys. It was connecting people back to the land. It was healing our relationship with the land, so that we don't have to be so dependent and on everybody and on a system that hates us, that we can regain just a little bit of our control back, that we can be able to heal ourselves and heal our families. So that's my story of healing. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I fight for food insecurity. And that is how I grew where I was planted through healing. So I thought that I would open up to y'all, and I hope that that story was a blessing to you guys. Let's get on, because I'm not the only one who did it. Let me introduce to you, or have them introduce themselves to our wonderful panelists. Our first panelist is my near and dear Nefertiti. Nefertiti, can you please introduce yourself to the crowd?
Can you hear me now? Okay.
We can.
Okay. Hi. My name is Nefertiti Alexander. I am a plus size fashion influencer and also a entrepreneur, full-time entrepreneur. I own Brooklyn Social, a social media marketing company. I have been on my growth journey for 9 years now. I'm very excited to be here and thankful for being invited to be on this panel today.
Thank you. She's amazing, y'all. You will get to hear everybody's story. But first,
Oh my gosh.
well, now I guess, not first, let's move on to our next panelist. Oh, let me stop sharing my sound now. All right, let me move on to our next panelist. And this is Rod. Rod, go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone.
Hey everybody, my name is Rodney, aka Rod Law, for those who follow me on Facebook. Let's see, I'm a music producer, songwriter, soon to be t-shirt line coming out very soon. Let's see, I'm an entrepreneur. Let's see, and trying to think of what else. I think that's about something.
He does too much, y'all. That's the problem. All right. And our third panelist is Mr. Ken. Ken, come on and introduce yourself for us.
How you guys doing this evening? First of all, thank you, Vanessa, for letting me have a platform, to, share my story, share my growth. I'm Ken Martin II, aka Kenny Bang. Kenny Bang goes hard. Operating entrepreneur, sales trainer, business coach, business consultant, and just, first of all, man of God, of all those other things. But I'm a person that, I like to help people. I have my most fun helping people, and I like, more than I like to help people, I like to learn. So I'm definitely looking to learn a lot, from my fellow panelists and from Vanessa, and ready to have some fun. Hopefully we get to drop some jewels, as they say.
You guys have a lot to live up to today because the jewels is dropping. It was raining jewels, but I've spoken to each one of you on your own, and ooh, okay, this is about to be lit. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get straight into our questions. All right, are y'all ready? We ready? Everybody ready? Okay. All right. So let me share my screen. I'm still getting used to this toggling thing. It's killing me, y'all. Okay. So again, this is 3H Table Talk. We're talking growing where you're planted, and this is Healing Edition. Let's get right into it, not waste no time. Straight shoot. All right. So our question number one is story time. I like to start with story time. And we're going to give each one of our panelists some time to talk. But I want to know your story. Like, what did healing look like for you? Let's start with Ness.
Okay, so for me, my story is very, healing for me started when in 2011. I had a really bad relationship breakup situation, whatever you want to call it, entanglement, I think is the new word now, whatever. And it ended. And I was 25 and I was a mess. I was broke. My mama had kicked me out. I had nothing. And I was depressed. I didn't know that I was depressed. I didn't know I had bipolar disorder. I had been not sleeping. I was working close to, like about 18 hours in a day. Every day, because I was working graveyards and also working like another shift. It was a lot. So it was doing too much, too many times a day. And suddenly it felt like my brain had snapped and I felt like I had no control over my body. And I tried to take my own life, and someone called my phone and like interrupted that entire like plan. And I ended up getting Baker acted for the very first time. And it was a weird situation to be in because I had never been to therapy up to this point. I didn't know what that looked like. And they make you do group therapy and also have individual therapy and psychiatry in the facility. And in that facility is when I found out about bipolar disorder, about mental illness, about sleep deprivation causing mental illness, about all of this stuff. I didn't know none of this stuff. They don't tell you this in the Black community, and I too am Jamaican, and they don't talk about this at all. And of course, calling my Jamaican mother, she was not too pleased with my decision. So from that point on, from 2011 to now, I ended up in and out of therapy, all of those things. I ended up having a daughter, and it almost kind of pressed the restart button on my journey, because you're not allowed to take medication, you're not allowed to do anything when you're pregnant. Fast forward, 2017 hits, I get divorced. And I am it's almost like I'm back at square one. And the divorce kind of was a catalyst to where I'm at now. I attempted suicide 3 times the year of 2017. I was with a very toxic person, and he was actively having an affair and just being very bad in a lot of ways. And I had a 5-year-old who I was convinced hated me. I was certain. You couldn't, like, my brain was telling me that, like, your daughter hates you. She don't like you. You can go now. You can go. She'll be fine. I swear to God. And I was a mess. My therapist, I was on medication regularly. I was seeing a therapist, but it felt like nothing was working. I couldn't figure out why. And I was struggling with that for a very long time. And I left. I got Baker acted and also arrested, all in the same night. And because I finally reacted to the man that I was married to. Finally, I finally kind of stood up for myself in the worst possible way. Usually you're supposed to leave, by the way. So for anyone who's going through something like this, just leave. Don't just don't fight back. You'll go to jail. You will go to jail. Stop hitting these men. Okay, cool. Stop putting your hands on these men. I mean, and honestly, you could tell the culture was so messed up, because even the police officers were like, honestly, he deserved it. And I was like, but I should not be hitting him. They kept reaffirming my behavior. And I was like, no, that's still bad. It's, whatever. So that from that moment on, I made a point to never get back into a Baker Act facility again. I said, it's basically like nice jail, it's not, it wasn't helpful. Because it was frustrating to be in a facility with people who were social workers who I went to school with. And it was very frustrating to be in a facility with people who saw me as not meant to be there. And it was annoying to go to jail and them not seeing my purpose there. You know what I mean? It was such a weird place to be in. And I didn't like how those people were treated, and I didn't like how I was being treated differently than those people. And so I felt like, no, there's got to be something better for me. So I changed therapists. I moved in with my mother, which, don't do that either. I mean, if that's all you have to do, then if that's all you can do that. But it was the decision I needed to make for myself at that time. And it was helpful. And I'm joking. I mean, she was helpful, but I went and I sought out therapy, and I did the work of therapy. This time I actually sat down and I wrote down what my triggers were. And I wrote down what my actual harmful, my toxic traits were. And I wrote down what my flaws were. A lot of times we go to therapy ready to blame everybody else. And what I realized in healing is that it ain't all everybody else's fault. You got flaws too. People got to put up with you just as much. And you got to recognize that. And I wrote them all down. And I went through the motions, and I started to look at who I really am and where I deserve to be and what I deserve to feel and live and enjoy. And I can proudly say that I'm also going to say healing don't stop. Depression, there's no cure. There's no cure. You're stuck. It's not like you're trapped. Depression is more so you trying to do your best of coping and managing it as you go throughout the days. And a lot of times people look for the cure, I'm cured. No, it's not. No. So I do still have episodes. I still have triggers. I still have moments, but I started to listen to my body. And I think that's the biggest thing. So what I started to do is pay attention to the things that make me happy and start focusing on the things that make me happy. I realized that I don't like working for people. I realized that working for people, I'm always calling in sick. I'm always going on sick leave with FMLA. I was like, this isn't working. I left. I quit my job and I started my company. And, you know, entrepreneurship isn't really great for mental health, but it is definitely great for me and my mental health, because a part of my issues is that I work too hard and I work too much and I have to like slow myself down. So I was able to put myself first, get what I needed to get done, and have a very successful year. And I was able to see myself in my fully realized state and get to a place of growth where I now know who I am as a woman, know who I am as a mother. I know who I am as a girlfriend, because I ended up finding love also, and finding the love that I deserve, not the love that I thought I needed and not the love that I thought I wanted. And I made sure not to be in any relationships that were very serious before I got to that point, because a lot of times you break up and you're like, I deserve better, and you hop into the next thing, and it's it's a mess. It's a mess.
Well,
you don't want to do that.
Before you're gonna leave me without question. So
sorry,
spill all the tea in the first 5 minutes.
You said tell the story. I said, I'm gonna tell the story.
I had give me something to work with. You're trying to kill me here. So what we got so far? We got pay attention to what makes you happy. She sounds like she just did the work. She did the work. Healing for her was sitting down, taking stock and saying, it might not have been everybody else. It might have been me. And sitting down and that takes, I'm telling you, there's some grown old folks out here that still haven't looked in the mirror, And so I commend you for that. I commend you for sharing your story. And for all of you who are going to share your story this evening, because this is deeply personal. So yeah, definitely. So, all right, come on, Rod.
No pressure.
Tell me.
You want me to fall now?
Yeah, I know, right? Now, well, you should have went first, right?
I told you that earlier.
So,
how can you follow that?
So go on and tell me what healing looks like for you, and tell us your story.
Well, healing looks like to me is I will have to start as far as back when I was 5 years old. Me and my sisters were playing the game. Before I moved to Wynwood and eventually here to Coconut Grove, I used to stay in Overtown area. So a game my sister and I used to play was, my parents being from Haiti, we didn't have too many toys back then. So we had an air freshener. So whoever had the air freshener, everybody had to chase them until they got the air freshener from that person. So eventually it was my turn with the air freshener. So I take the air freshener and run as fast as I can. I ran across the street. My sisters were like, Rodney, no, like come back. But I'm like, I'm not coming back, because if I come back, guess what? You guys go take the air freshener. So then I said, you know what? I'm gonna come back. Then I ran back. And again, they tried to take the air freshener. Not looking, I ran back across the street and I got hit by a car. So at the age of 5, the only thing I remember after getting hit by a car was running up and just crying for mom and dad, just that, just come, help me, because I'm bleeding. But then I remember somebody grabbed me. I think the owner of the car or somebody grabbed me and then placed me on top of the car and told me stop running. I black out. The next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital, happy to be alive. Then after that, I remember eating McDonald's, watching TV. So healing for me dates back to that. And I don't know if y'all want mind seeing it. I can show you guys the scar. If y'all don't,
We're good.
Yeah, y'all don't want to see my scar?
No, we don't want to.
Wait, I gotta start the top now. I can't. It's right here.
This is PG, and we don't have a tipping service, Rod. So
wait, it's not. It's okay, but yeah, okay. I do have a scar right here. Vanessa's stopping me, guys. I'm sorry. I would have showed you guys. But she said no.
Mm-hmm. So you already started the life off with adversity. Did you know, what did you struggle with as an adult?
Then, believe it or not, towards my teens years, I started thinking to myself, like, I'm here for a purpose. Like, what is my purpose? And I started, believing it or not, chasing it. So I started hanging with the wrong crowd in hope of finding my purpose then. I didn't find nothing but trouble, detention, and whatnot. So that didn't help. I'm like, Lord Jesus, what's going on? Trying to find my purpose. So eventually, even being young, my dad used to take us to Catholic school, a Catholic church on Sundays. And I thought I could find my purpose there. God was there, but my purpose wasn't. But I love him. I'm gonna come back. No, but then eventually my sister started going to a Pentecostal church. And that's when I believe I found my purpose and I found God. So after finding God, it helped me find my purpose in life. And that's how I eventually came up with the name like DJ Triumph, because Triumph in Christ. I named it after a scripture, 2 Corinthians 2:14. And then, yeah.
Lovely. So you was like, I'm struggling enough. I'm going to find my purpose as I get older. I'm sure we have all tried that, because a lot of times you will say, you know what, I'm fated for this. This is what I'm meant to do.
Yes.
And that's not it. You have to watch what orders your steps. You know,
Amen. And
your steps aren't always ordered the right way.
And another thing that helped me too along the way was I followed my gut and peace. So that what, because sometimes even hanging out and with the wrong crowd, I didn't necessarily feel like peace. So it's always good to follow peace and listen to your gut, because your gut knows a lot. And I believe your gut is the way God speaks to you, to most people, I believe.
Definitely. Okay, so now, last but certainly not least, we have Ken. Come on, Ken. Introduce yourself to the people and tell them how your story goes. What did healing look like for you?
Okay, for sure. So once again, Ken Martin II, Kenny Bangs, my good friends that know me. A little bit about me, originally from Miami, Florida. Not from the part that Rod got hit at. So I'm sorry, I got, I was up just, but not too far up the street, which is the irony of all that stuff, because I remember being a kid, playing in the street and having all that happen. Pretty much with me, I feel like I've been growing all my life, but I feel like, and we're going to talk about this a lot tonight, like 2020 was where I did a good amount of growth. And I feel like the catalyst to that, because I have two kids, I got a soon-to-be 14-year-old and I got a soon-to-be 2-year-old. When, as my baby was pretty much about to be born, I went haywire, because I'm like, oh my God, like I'm about to have a baby. I don't know what to do with a baby. I know what to do with a toddler or preteen and all that, a 12-year-old at the time, but I have no idea what to do with a baby. And then once she got here and just kind of watching her acclimate to certain things, it kind of made me look introspective within myself and realize like, oh man, like this little girl is going to learn everything she knows in life from, either me or her mother for the most part, especially, before we even went into quarantine. So that leading into 2020, because she was born September 2019, March 2020, the whole world shuts down. And I knew we were in for a long ride when the CDC told everyone to wash their hands, and everyone bought all the hand sanitizer they can find. That still racks my brain. But yeah, so I knew it was going to be enough. I knew it was going to be in here for a long haul. I knew it wasn't going to be like, the other places where they were, fairly in and out because they follow instructions. We're Americans, we don't follow instructions. We buy hand sanitizers when they tell us to buy, stuff to wash our hands. But what it did was I realized that, and it's crazy because I even have a post on Facebook probably like a month from now, probably like 11 months from now, whenever the coronaversary is, saying that, hey, this is going to be a huge change. If you come out of this the same way you came in it, you messed up, because I realized that we're going to shut down. And I'm an Aquarius, so I'm naturally extra. I'm naturally overdo things. So I read 53 books from the time of pretty much in 2020. So between knocking out 53 books and then listening to hours upon hours upon hours of podcasts, I digested a lot of information. And that's pretty much what is the catalyst, to my growth, along with, getting professional help and actually, going to see a professional. But first things first, as Nefertiti said, it starts with looking in. So I guess the baby being born made me start to look within. And then between the baby being born and, COVID coming, it just pretty much made me start to work on myself, because I realized, like, hey, I can complain about all these things, but I can't change anybody else but myself. So that's pretty much what started my healing journey, and pretty much what we're going to talk a lot about tonight.
I've never gotten, like, I didn't realize it until you said it, that they told us to wash our hands. and so we bought hand sanitizer.
All the hand sanitizer in sight. That's
Help
the part
us,
that,
Lord.
like, and you
Help us,
could
Lord.
and you can walk
Right.
past, like, you will walk past all this soap, but no hand sanitizer.
The soap was never sold out. Okay, this is a topic for another time. But my God, mind blown, right? But, I think that story resonates with a lot of people, because kids are sometimes that huge catalyst. Like, you're ripping and running your whole, in the streets, on the sidelines, and then you have a kid and you're like, whoa, somebody's actually watching me and gonna take instructions from me. Like, I don't even trust me to adults. Who trusted me? Like, I was just saying this earlier, like, this is for the birds. Like, who wants to do this? And you shouldn't take any instruction from me. Oh, my kids are listening. They better take instruction from me. But it really puts things into perspective to you, that says, oh, shoot, I've got to do some work, and I got to do it now. And what I love about your story, Ken, is that, you said that if you came out of 2020 the same way you went in, you have wasted an opportunity for growth, for healing. I mean, and I say it all the time, we got exactly what we've all been asking for, right? We all said, if we had more time to do this, if we only had more hours in a day, if only I didn't have to go into work. Guess what? You got to actually do all the things. Now's your time. Either you got it or you don't. Either you want it or you don't. So I love all of your stories. Let me figure out how to share my screen again. And then I will say, all right, so let's move on to topic number 2, 2020 vision. And that's a great segue, because we were just talking about our lack of understanding that you actually have to wash your hands with soap and water. We'll get back to that. Okay. 2020 vision. How did you grow in healing in 2020? And how did you overcome the shift in life as you knew it? I know for me, 2020 wasn't my year of growth. It wasn't my year of healing. Of course, I was constantly healing, but all my stuff came in 2018 and 2019. 2020 was my first breath of air, but that didn't mean that I wasn't still healing. I was just at a point in my healing where I could finally take a breath and it not hurt and consume me. And so I'm interested to know what your 2020 looked like and how you grew in healing in 2020, and how did you deal in general with the whole world getting shut down?
2020 was 2020. Don't laugh. 2020 was
because you're hilarious.
I didn't even say anything yet. You didn't even give me a chance to be funny. Like, that's the thing. See, this is how people think you're funny, and then you're not funny because you didn't say nothing yet. See what happens? Anyway, 2020 wasn't anything for me because, not to brag or nothing, but I was already unemployed. So I was, I had already gone into 2020. It started trash. Like yeah, man, 2019. If we want to talk about 2019, I got a story, but 2020 was great. I was broke. I was already full-time. I work in social media management, so I work from home anyway. So this whole I don't wear pants anymore. I love this life of living at home and all that stuff, not new for me. I was already home all day anyway. The only thing that 2020 had done different is that my daughter moved in with me in my healing growth apartment of 1 bedroom. And I had to accommodate a 8-year-old who can eat. Boy, goodness. I don't know where it goes. I don't know where it goes. And it goes somewhere because they eat so much. So that was the only thing that I had to adjust to in 2020. Is feeding my child and virtual school. Virtual school is a special hell that I don't wish on any one of my enemies. I did have it was my first time where I was able to like organize myself. I did start my YouTube channel that year. I started really taking my blogging seriously, my micro blogging seriously, my outfits and things like that. So for me, 2020 was more about applying everything that I had learned from 2019 and making it work for me in 2020. But I already washed my hands because I wasn't, dirty. So I bought soap. I do remember that sanitizer going out, but I do remember that it was like, no one's buying soap, but they're buying toilet paper and sanitizer. It was strange. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of that. My company grew in 2020 as well. But I did have a lot of hard stuff. I mean, I did have to like navigate a whole new relationship in a pandemic, and that, geez Louise, like it was no dates, like you can't go nowhere. It was that was 2020.
How did you do that? How was dating in like, because I see people on social media and they're like, I can't date now, it's a pandemic. But then I see some people who, they're masked up and they just kiss through the mask. How did you navigate that?
I don't want to say he's cynical. I had a very, it's gonna be fine kind of, he's like an old grandpa. That's what my boyfriend's like. So he at first was just like, I gotta go to work. So I don't know what y'all finna do, but I'm going to work. And then he was named an essential worker out the gate. So we were fine. He kept coming over and everything like that and washing his hands and stuff. And again, he's not dirty either. So we were fine. Dating was different because we couldn't go anywhere. And so I would find him complaining about like not being able to go somewhere. And I'd be like, we're in a Papa-Doc. Like we can't go nowhere, sir. Like it's a Pop-Tart outside. Like, so we would have to make it work in our home, like, cook for each other or watch movies. We got the whole Netflix on lock. It's Disney Plus, Netflix, Hulu. We've watched everything. It's all done. So that's kind of how dating worked for us. But he, right before the pandemic started, we had like a little sweet spot where we were able to like go out. So at least I know his table manners were intact before the pandemic hit.
There you go. You see, what you have to focus on what matters. Okay. Do you know what the salad fork is? Questions that need answers. But I love that you say that, and it touches what we talked about last week, that if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, right? But so all the work, while 2020 might not have been your year of oh my gosh, I'm going to break down to build back up. You had broke down before and you had started to do that work. And so 2020 was just like, okay, I'm being called now. Now's the time to implement.
I started the year in a deep depression. And I mean, 2020 served me some serious hits. I got diagnosed with PCOS. I was gaining weight. Like everyone's like, "Oh, we're all gaining weight because of the pandemic," and I was like, "No, I've already been working from home. This ain't for me." Like, no, we're not. I can't blame a pandemic. I was already home. Y'all just got home. I've been home. So for me, I was really frustrated with like body changing. And when you're a body positive plus size advocate, it's a really weird conundrum when your body gets bigger and you're supposed to be like, I love it. And I was like,
but do I love it though? Like,
I don't like it. And so I had to go to I had to relearn all of the things that I'm preaching online. We never met, all of this stuff. Like I was falling asleep. Right now I feel so tired all the time. You know what I mean? And it's really like a whole new wave of stuff. So 2020 served. Granted, I got my clients back. I got my money back. I got my credit back, all that stuff, my finances fixed. But then I also had a huge hit with my health. I had a huge hit with virtual school. Although my daughter, she flourished in this thing. Like she knew what she was doing. She was like, whatever, I got it. And it was great. Thank God. But then she also broke my computer. So, I'm mad about that forever.
There's a bunch of broken computers in 2020. So in a landfill somewhere, there are many broken computers.
Everything. And then on top of everything else, co-parenting in 2020 was world-class terrible. I don't recommend it with anyone, because now whatever you had to whatever plan you had, throw it out the window, because now the Pop-Tart is threatening to it's a mess. So that was my main challenge of the year that I had to navigate through somehow.
I would like everyone to understand that when Ness says Pop-Tart, she means the pandemic. Okay? I think that's important to be said. Were you all confused?
I'm going to call it a Ponderosa.
The Ponderosa.
I'm going to call it a parallelogram. I'm going to call it all of the things that are not pandemic. I hope y'all are ready for that. So serious.
All right, so my boy, Rod. All right, he's just looking like, please don't call me.
Yeah, no.
Talk to me. Your whole job tonight is for me to call you over and over again.
And you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. I'm proud.
Thank you. You gotta watch him, y'all. He's slick at the mouth. He is, boy. He's a sweet talker.
Lies, I tell you, lies.
So talk to me about your 2020. What did it look like, and how did you, how did your world change, and how did you adapt to the change of when 1 minute we're open and next minute we're not?
Eating Pop-Tarts helped. I started my morning with a Pop-Tart. I started every morning, no matter what. I was consistent. I had a Pop-Tart. And it helped. Look at this. Pop-Tart muscles. So I highly recommend everybody from here on out have a Pop-Tart. Thank you.
That's it. Your talk is over.
No, I'm kidding. 2020 actually was a year of growth. I can honestly say it was a year of growth. Believe it or not, my year started off really well. Like me and my brother, we moved from our here to Coconut Grove area to a 2-bed, 2-bath room spot. I got promoted at work. I started taking my music more seriously. I put it on DistroKid. Let's see what else I did in 2020. I actually started this shirt idea. As you can see.
I am convinced that Rod just wants to take his clothes off.
No. It's so you can see.
Go ahead and drop me a your.
No. It's not that type of party. No, it's just. No. We have to stay focused. It's for the shirt.
So it's not for the pecs.
It is for the shirt. It's for the shirt, so everybody can see the shirt. That's the. Don't let Vanessa fool you guys.
I love teasing him, you guys. If you can find your dollar emoji, if you could drop that for me in the chat.
Wait,
But
it's
we
not that
love
type
the
of
shirt.
party.
It is beautiful.
I'm gonna take the dollar, but it's not that type of party. I'm gonna take it. Though.
Then
It's
don't
not
take the dollar. You don't
No,
get
wait.
to take the
It's,
dollar.
I'm gonna take it and give it back, but take it back again after that.
Right. Okay.
Okay, we gotta focus on growth.
So it looks like for 2020, you know, when you found yourself like, you know, what was that March, April kind of what is happening?
Yes.
You know, where did it come from? Were people really eating bats? And then we were like, oh, snap, it's here, right?
Yes.
What did that shift look like for you? Did you work from home? Did you, you know,
Yes,
being
believe it or not, I
secluded?
started working. I do IT work, so I started working remotely from home. And from the times I was working from home, when I wasn't working, like from a regular IT job, I started taking my music more seriously. So I started just putting my music on DistroKid and just putting it more out there. And then I started just reading the Bible more and just trying to grow within, like doing a lot of self-reflecting. And then that helped eventually birth an idea called Triumph Lifestyle. So because
okay, so a new baby was birthed for you. So we had a lot of COVID babies. He had a business baby that grew out of that.
So yeah, so an idea just came to mind because for those who follow me on Facebook, like Raw Law, I try to post inspirational stuff. A lot of people think it's for me to share, and I do enjoy sharing it. Those are like friendly reminders for myself, because in the midst of the whole COVID and changes happening, I needed I needed to fill myself and my surroundings with self-hope and reflection. Like even right here, I'm not sure if you see, I have something like give thanks. So I try to surround myself at all times with inspirational stuff. So that helps me stay mentally positive and full of faith and full of hope.
That is so true. That is so true. Like people walk into my house and they're like, you have way too many things you have to read. Like all of my paintings have, and I'm just like, first of all, why do you hate reading? What's wrong with you?
Right.
Okay, we're skill building around here. I've got kids. And two, you got to remind yourself. And he is absolutely right. He is one of the most positive people I know. On days when I don't feel like moving and I'm scrolling through Facebook like this, and Rod's like, good morning. Triumph Lifestyle. I'm like, oh my God.
But remember, the secret is Pop-Tart. The secret is Pop-Tart, people.
The Pop-Tart. It's the Pop-Tart. I like the s'mores Pop-Tart. If you're listening, drop what flavor Pop-Tart you like in the chat. All right, so Kenny Bangs. You ready? He looks intense, y'all. This is gonna be good.
I hope I don't look too intense.
You look intense. I think you might be squinting. Do you need glasses, sir?
I actually have in contacts.
Oh,
I may need to change them though. I may need to change.
There you
them.
go. There you go.
Thanks for calling me out. I appreciate you. So we could have went with intense.
This is what we do.
We could have went with
It's
intense.
Table talk. It's table talk.
I can't look intense on table talk. I gotta be relaxed.
At the kitchen table, do we lie to each other? Do we lie to one another?
We do not. We do not.
Okay.
We do not. We do not. I appreciate you right about that.
Talk to me about your 2020 and how you coped with all of the new changes and how did you overcome that shift in life?
As I alluded to you guys earlier, one of my coping mechanisms, was, just having the ability to read, and just not having the ability to read, but, reading, so many books and that, thing, and listening to so many podcasts or whatnot. So that was one of the things that, how I coped. Another thing I did, and this was kind of, because again, 2019 really parlayed me into this, and I'm really grateful for the events that happened in 2019 that kind of, didn't make it hit as hard. I'm not going to say it didn't affect me because it affected all of us. We're living in a whole different world now. But 2019 kind of helped me do that. So at the beginning of 2019, like around, I want to say probably for New Year's, I prayed, for, wisdom and understanding, and ended up turning around and having, a Libra baby. If y'all know anything about Libras, Libras are like the official devil's advocate. Like a lot of Libras are like judges and lawyers because they can look at things on the other side. And like if you go to a Libra, you say Johnny hit me, they're gonna say, well, what did you do to Johnny to make him hit you? So no shade, no hate to the Libras, but it opened my mindset to me looking at things from different perspectives. So now when 2020 comes, that's what made me think of perspective, of looking at things. I'm not looking at that, hey, this is the end of the world, I hate my life, all my plans for 2020 vision is over with. Because if we're gonna probably the latest year ever. Like you think we had COVID babies? If we were outside, we would have had like babies. Um, so and that's just because if you look at like the dates, like Cinco de Mayo was a Friday, Valentine's was a Friday, like everything was on like the lit day. It was just it was gonna be crazy. So the universe probably knew what it was doing, locking us down. But I mean,
Ken, what did you think we were doing in the house?
Yeah, but you can find. You get what I'm saying? If you can, if people could, no, if you could move the way you could move, people wanted to move because it was everybody did not have a COVID bay. Let's call a spade a spade.
You're right.
So if we was able to see, we already got a witness. So, if like I say, 2020, like I promise y'all, if y'all look at the calendar for 2020, like everything was going to be like on a Friday or a Saturday, like every holiday. So it was going to be crazy. So pretty much it seeing it happen, it made me look at a different, perspective at things. And it just kind of just like Vanessa was saying, it kind of just gave us all a chance to just, because as people as a whole, we all felt overwhelmed with just so much going on. And then social media doesn't make it any better because, as a wise person once told me, social media is like a highlight reel. So if you watch any like Sports Center or anything like that, they're not going to show you the missed shots or the drop passes or any of that. They're going to show you the big plays. They're going to show you the touchdowns. So it gives us a weird perspective on life. And social media makes it look like everybody is winning. And two things. Number one, everybody isn't winning. And number two, you don't know what they're doing to win. If you know anybody that, got hit with PPP, again, they may look like they was balling for a couple weeks, but after a while, the government's going to get theirs. So 2020 just kind of, it unveiled everything and it unmasked everything. And it just, made me look within. So pretty much the majority of 2020, as I alluded to before, what I did was just I looked within. One of the first books I read was a great book called You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. And one of the things she talks about is anything that you absolutely hate, you either are or you aspire to be. And I was like, whoa, like, so, and it made me think like, dang, one of the things I really hated was I hated people that always got their own way. And I'm not going to say I hated them like I can't stand them, but I just always had a little bit of envy in me. But once I read that, it made me realize, well, that's what you want, Ken. You want your own way because you feel like, when you have your own way, you're going to do right by it. You're going to do better by it. You're not going to, abuse it or disrespect it. So by kind of recognizing the things I hated, it made me internalize it and made me realize, okay, well, hey, Ken, these are some of the things you need to fix. So you at least have a little, catalyst of what to work on and then, going to, get professional help from there. I hope I answered the question. Did I answer the question? I didn't want to take over and be talking on.
No, you're good. And actually, I like you in this spot because you beautifully segue us into our next topic. And this topic is, our first two questions were great, but this is where we kind of get into the meat of things. And I'm going to ask this question in two parts, and you're going to see why in a second. Let me share my screen. So I want to talk about Black mental health. And if we had a hashtag, it would be Black mental health matters. So the first part of this question is going to go to my beautiful lady, Nefertiti. I want to know, when did you realize, and I think we heard a little bit about it before, that you had to take stock of your mental health and like that oh crap moment? What was your oh crap moment? It's like, there's something going on and I have to fix it. And what are some strategies that you use even today to bring yourself back to that moment that says, I need to check in on myself and my mental health?
My oh crap moment. I didn't want to cuss on the show. Can I cuss? I don't know. But my oh crap moment was I it was the suicide attempt, my very first one. For those of you who are not aware, when you are to a place of that, when it gets that bad, it doesn't happen out of nowhere. It's not like this boy dumped me and I'm ready to kill myself. Nobody, like most people aren't like ready to off themselves off of one incident, right? It's a lead up. And I did not realize the amount of damage I had been doing to my mental and myself up to this point. I'm a workaholic. I do too much. And a lot of times in our community, working hard in grind culture is prevalent. You ain't first, you last. You gotta make sure you got 17 side hustles and you gotta make this money. We gotta hustle hard and all that stuff. And that's the accent I hear in my head whenever people talk like this. So when I was in school full time. I was working overnight and I was working in the day, and then I was dating and I was doing everything. I was at everybody's party and I was trying to make sure I was everybody's friend and I was trying to do everything for everybody. And somewhere Nefertiti got lost in the sauce. And I one day, snapped, and it was a bad night. It was a bad night. And so you work so hard and you lose yourself slowly. The devil likes to creep up on you, And so you start to tell yourself all these things. You're not working hard enough. You're not good enough. You can't talk to your friends because you're a burden. You don't realize that you're snapping on everybody around you because you're stressed the hell out. You don't realize that you're losing friends one by one because you're losing yourself. And the more people who start to push away from you because you're being, a problematic person, you start to realize maybe you got to look at something going on. And it's not to say that you're a bad person. You're just going through a bad time. And so once you get down to 4 decent people left in your life who's putting up with you at this point, you're like convinced that you're burdening them and that everyone around you either hates you or is tired of you or is better off without you. And you get to a place and you try to go. That was my moment when I was like, I don't think, the doctor said, you haven't been sleeping. You haven't been taking care of yourself. Why do you, of course you try to kill yourself because you didn't even look to take a nap. You didn't even look to your favorite place is the beach and you haven't been in a beach for 2 years and you live on South Beach. That don't make no sense. I lived on South Beach. I wasn't going. So this is a problem. So it was a huge wake-up call. Huge. So the strategies, the second question was the strategies, correct?
Yes,
so my strategies, I just want to make sure, so the strategies from that moment on, and also when it happened again in 2017, was simply that I do check-ins. Personally, how I handle my stuff. First of all, I made it very clear, and I'm very deliberate about the circle that I have around me. I need that to be heard. I want to say it again. The circle that you have in your life make a huge difference to your mental health. And if you have the wrong type of people in your life, you are going to find yourself doing things to yourself that is not good for your mental health. So I made sure that I started to, once I lost my ex-husband, it almost felt like the lights turned on. And then it wasn't all the way on. And so then I realized there was other people in my circle that was still bringing me down. They had to go. They had to go. If they wasn't going to adjust, they had to go.
you did not lose your ex-husband. You relinquished him back from whence he came. Okay. There you go.
Language. You're so
All
right.
right.
The language. I
There
ain't
you
lose
go.
shit. I said, because my daughter in no room, I gotta be nice. So I had to let him go. I had to send him back. And so I returned him to his mistress, and I went on and took care of me. And I started to focus on me. I started to focus on what my triggers were. The big thing is paying attention to your triggers and paying attention to how you can avoid your triggers. Some things that are your triggers, you can't avoid them. Like if you have a job and you need to eat, obviously, if your boss is a trigger, you're going to have to work through coping mechanisms on how to manage and maneuver around this boss being a trigger, right? The same way with my ex-husband, I have no choice but to interact with him because of our daughter. So in order for me to find myself, and not losing my mind and going back to jail, my therapist made a very valid point to me, and she said, go, if this is who he is, then there's no need to react. If this is how the person has always shown you who they are, where's the reaction coming from? You know who this is. You already know what you already know what this is. And so the whole purpose of this was, the only thing consistent is the inconsistency of him. So there's no need to get frustrated. There's no need to get upset. And that's kind of how I had to keep moving, and everything else fell into place. Anytime I noticed somebody doing something that whatever, I paid attention to my triggers. I paid attention to my sleep. I don't let people keep me up past any hours that I don't want, whatever. If I'm working too hard and I find myself losing my mind, I stop and I play Sims, and I don't care what anyone has to say. I'm playing my Sims. Like, I'm going to play my Sims, and I'm going to take my time to play my Sims, and I'm going to watch my Hulu, and I'm going to watch my Marvel movies, and I'm going to enjoy myself and live the way I need to. I'm going to drink as much water as possible. And the key part here, I'm going to mind my business. And if a lot of people don't understand, mind your business, you don't have to worry about your mental health being a mess, because what people think about me don't have nothing to do with me. What people say about me don't have nothing to do with me. 2019 was a year of a lot of people having a lot to say about me. Minding my business was all I needed to do to continue going it forward. So when 2020 hit, girl, you heard that so-and-so said, I don't know what, I don't care. I don't know. Not my business.
Yeah. Yeah.
No longer caring about being misunderstood, no longer caring about being heard, being listened to. What if you know, if you don't, goodbye. And that is
exactly.
I'm 35, but that's it. And I'm an Aquarius too, and I'm extra just like Ken. And I don't, and I'm but I'm pretty straightforward when it comes to my communication. And I've learned that assertion versus aggression is the best way to get things said. And then you leave it alone. Let that be their problem after that. So that's my advice.
Yeah. So definitely those strategies, just to recap what she said was, she knew what her triggers were. And I think the deeper part there is that she understood that she could not control how other people triggered her. She couldn't control that the actual trigger was happening. She had to focus her strategies on how she reacted or did not react to those triggers. That's super important.
I say one more thing. The
Black Rod is waiting patiently.
The Black community mental health. He's not, and that's the thing. I'm kicking the ball over to you, Rod. So I hope you're ready for this alley-oop. All right. So my thing is, here's what a big part of it is. The Black community doesn't have a lot of resources for our mental health. And so when I went to therapies for Black girl, I realized that having a Black female therapist is almost key in a journey like this, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have to look for those things. And once I changed over to a Black female therapist, the whole shebang shifted. Everything shifted for me. And then when I moved over to that lane, I started to see things differently, and I was able to hold myself accountable more. And I realized that the same thing isn't there for Black men, and the conversation isn't there for Black men. And I can feel like the men on this panel can talk to that. Bow.
I think you have EST because I think listen, okay, all right, okay, I got you. You was trying to slip that in. You want to be the host? Do you want to be the host?
Give it to Rod to make it easy for him because I know he was having. I was trying to help him out.
Well, go ahead and take it, man.
Trying to help him out a little bit.
No, but as our host Nefertiti just said, okay, I want to focus for just a moment because I feel like, and as a woman, it feels kind of, but I feel like we don't focus enough on this topic as it relates to Black men. And I want to just take a second in this healing portion to ask I got two Black men on the panel, okay? So I had to focus on y'all for a minute. I want to know about your mental health, and a little different of a question from Neff is, at what age or how did your relationship with mental health change? Like I said, I shared I'm from a West Indian background. I know that, Rod is Haitian, comes from a Caribbean background. I know that Ken is also from a Jamaican background. And that relationship with mental health, I didn't even know the phrase mental health. And I'm just wondering what your experience was as it relates to mental health and being a Black man in this country, and the strategies that you have to use being so different as to not come off as an angry Black man, not to come off as a soft Black man. That is I couldn't even imagine, like, I'm a Black woman. And so I struggle with having to deal with what it means to be a Black woman. But at the end of the day, like, I can show my emotions and it just be because I'm a woman and not because I'm a Black woman. You know what I'm saying? So I want to know, like, first, this is so many parts of a question. When did you first learn that mental health mattered and it was something that you had to make a priority in your life? And what strategy do you use as a Black man to check in on yourself, but still assert or take control of your own mental health? I'm going to start with Ken because, you ready? I'm going to start with Ken, and we're going to give Rod a short break, okay? So go ahead. Go ahead. Let me know. Talk to me.
Oh yeah. Now I may have to have you repeat the question because I was listening because I'm like, I know I'm going to go after Rod, but it's all right. I could go in.
Oh, okay.
I got you. I was going to have you repeat it either way because I figured I was going to forget it, but I'm gonna try to remember the first part. I know you were asking me when did I recognize mental health matter, correct?
I got you. You ready? Let's listen to me this time.
Okay. Yeah.
Rod, you're not getting the answers to this test, Rod. Okay. All right. So I would like to know, one, in your life, when did you find or realize or make mental health a priority?
Okay.
And part two is what strategies do you use to deal with or check in on your own mental health, but still, assert yourself while still, maintaining all the complex things that go in with being a Black man?
For sure. So I'm gonna apologize to you, my gracious host, for now. For right now, should I say? So this is a fun fact. Most of you guys may not know it. If not, I'm going to enlighten you and liberate you. So women can think 8 to 10 thoughts simultaneously. Males, we can only think one thought at a time. So that makes women good planners and we're good executors. So that's kind of like the balance. And that also goes with, like masculine and feminine energy, but we're not going to go too deep into that. So that's why I asked her to repeat it. I'm still going to have her repeat the second part of that question because y'all heard how long that second part of that question was. So don't look at me like I'm wrong for forgetting it, fellas. My brothers hold me down. So when did I recognize that mental health matter? And so man, it's crazy because I too went through a divorce. I'm not gonna say I sent anybody to the streets because that's disrespectful, and that will also be me denying my portion and everything. And I'm all about accountability and like, hey, that's my Libra side. Now, hey, what did you do to cause this to happen? So I went through a divorce, And going through that divorce, it made me realize that, and this has probably been happening through every relationship I've had in my life, is that if you have a friend that like gets in a relationship with a person and forgets all their friends, apparently that was me my whole life and I never knew it. So when I was with my ex-wife, I pretty much, I'm not gonna say I shunned my friends or egged them, but I wanted to be inside of her world so much that I forgot that, hey, you two had a world before she came along, and that world still is intact. And that's something I say, especially to moms as well, because oftentimes what happens to moms is you get so caught into your kids that you lose your identity, that you forget that you're a person. So I realized I lost my identity in the doggone marriage. So from that point on, I'm not a husband anymore, and I'm not with this person anymore. So what do I do? Now, granted, I ended up getting with somebody else, but at the same exact time, you still didn't fix yourself. So you're not even giving your whole self to that person, and you're going through this same exact cycle again of pouring yourself into this person and not pouring to yourself. So my old snap moment was, I would say again, that parlay in between 2019 and 2020 when the baby was born. Well, not even when she was born, but like, yeah, pretty much when she got here, because I was nervous from the time like I found out till she came, because I'm like, what the heck do I do with the baby? But once she was here, I'm like, oh snap, she here. So like, for real, what do I do with the baby? And it just made me just go very introspective. Like I'm a person, I even felt like this with my oldest, like kids are you in your purest form. So if you do have children, they do things, they either got it from one parent or the other. So that also made me take a lot of accountability. So once I had her in my life, and even before that, like after the divorce, I kept saying I needed therapist. Excuse my language, I'm a hurt hole. I'm doing this kind of stuff. That was like that was something that, if you knew me in intimate times, I actively would say that. And we all know that hurt people hurt people. So I knew that I needed help. But to kind of go into the second question, as Vanessa was saying, I'm Jamaican, and my daddy was born in 1939. In Jamaica at that. So mental health ain't no mental health. Like this, they out here, like they out, like, and you got to think like that's who I grew up around, him and his friends. So I grew up around old black men. So ain't no mental health. Like, we out here, we gonna do what we gotta do to take care of this woman, to make sure that she's straight. Or I'm not gonna say old women, because I ain't gonna bash black men, don't cheat. But so being around these people, it almost makes you, and not even that. I mean, up until recently, like I can remember my mother saying, like, my mother to this day, because my mother's born, I'm not gonna say the year she was born, because you're not supposed to say a woman's age, but she's not too far from my daddy. And so even to this day, we would tell her, hey, you need to go see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And she like, that's crazy. Like, that's what crazy people do. And we like, no, mom, like you were literally born in the Jim Crow South, where you had to go to the back of the store to order your food because they didn't want you to go inside the store. You don't think that like, man, and I keep telling her this generational trauma thing I heard on one of Joe Rogan's podcasts. So they had some chickens, right? Some baby chicks. And these baby chicks, regular normal baby chicks, they had them on like this electric board, and they sprayed this citrus scent. And then after they sprayed the citrus scent, they shocked the baby chicks and they went crazy. So 5 generations removed, so their great grandkids, right? They had them inside a similar thing, and they sprayed the citrus scent, and they didn't shock them, but they went crazy. And I was like, and that's just chickens. So imagine what my mother went through, what her mother went through, what my daddy went through. All that's built inside of me, and we all are taught that you crazy if you go to talk to somebody about it. Yeah. Like, do you like? Yeah, my bad.
Let me ask you a follow-up question to that. So you said that you grew up around strong Black men who are just like, by any means necessary, we got to get it done. We don't have time to focus on heal what? We trying to put food on the table. We trying to take care of our families.
Yeah.
So there's a bridge there, and I'm wondering what it is. How did you being raised around that atmosphere take you to a place to even say, I may need therapy? Like, that's a huge revelation. I hope you sat in that and said, I have broken this generational curse of not really, of not asking for help. Because that's so ingrained in us, and it's so ingrained in men of color to not ask for help. So what was that bridge like for you?
I mean, the books really revealed a lot about me, because it's crazy that when I went to read thinking that I was looking for something. But the more I read, I realized it was already within me. Like, one of the books, The Power of Now, gives a story about this homeless man that was sitting on the box, and he was begging for money. And everybody that passed by, he was just begging. They probably give him a couple cents here and there or whatnot, but it wasn't nothing crazy. And then one day the king walked up to him and was like, hey, have you ever checked like what's under the box? He's like, nah, I never checked under the box, man. Give me $1, man. King was like, nah, like just check under the box, like see what's in there. And he flipped the box over and saw that it was all the gold and riches that he could ever need, that all the stuff he was begging for the people, he could have gave that to them tenfold and still had more. So that was kind of like, that was what opened it up for me, because I had been hollering, hey, I need therapy, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't until I pretty much started searching for myself that I realized that, hey, a lot of the work you need to have done is from stuff that's within. So I'm a very, like, even before then, I'm a person that I believe in the root of things. So I believe in, let's get to the root of it. Let's not
put a Band-Aid on problems.
Yeah, that's symptoms.
Got you.
Why are you, again, that goes to my Libra folks. Shout out, God bless y'all. Y'all are something else. But
you're gonna start bigging up the Geminis pretty soon, because I'm feeling a little left out.
Well, my oldest is a Gemini, and I know the best thing to do with y'all is leave y'all alone, because y'all are something else. It's two of y'all.
Exactly. Precisely. So I'm going to take that clip.
So let me big up both y'all. Let me big up both y'all. So shout out to both of the Geminis, and the Leo too, and all the other zodiac signs. I'm a big zodiac person, so it's don't think.
So let me see. So I think for you, you've always been introspective. That's just your nature. It's you being an Aquarius and you being you. But I think that, like you were saying, you came out of that relationship like, who am I? And and I think so I can speak, and what, most of us here are parents. I don't know if you're a parent, Rod. I'm so sorry. I've never. You will take this free game that at this point of 2020, us as parents have been tested. We have been tried, tested, run out to dry, beat up, smacked against the wall. We are pretty much been abused by 2020. But I think that's important when you say, like, don't lose yourself. It's important to maintain an identity outside of your children. And a lot, one of the things I worked on with my coach was, I think of everything in buckets. I'm a bucket mind person, right? But she's like, I'm sorry. So we did a garden analogy, because that's who I am. I'm like, I have all these garden beds of all these different responsibilities. And you spoke to it, Ken, when you said you're pouring into, but what do you do when your cup is empty? I think it is so important, and for parents, for anybody who has a lot of responsibilities, or people counting on that you are no good to anybody else if you don't take a beat to refill your cup. How can you pour into anybody or any area of your life if your cup is not full? So Rod, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
I have a very specific question for you.
Excellent.
Okay? Because, as a you seem very introspective as well. You're always looking into yourself. You said you started looking for your purpose when, most of us was just trying to sneak alcohol from the cabinet.
No, but getting hit by the car.
Don't act like you didn't do that. Don't act like you didn't do that. Jamaican households always have rum. You were sneaking a little tip.
I'm drinking now.
You see, there you go. So I want to know I'm not going to ask you when you knew mental health mattered. I think you knew that. I think you're just one of those people who just knew what to focus on. And your means is, how do I get what I want, not knowing what you want. So I'm going to ask you, what strategies do you use, whether it be in your field, whether it be, in navigating, any part of this world, to check in on your own mental health and make sure that you're aligned with your values? You said it was important to you that, you were posting positive things and you surround yourself with positivity. When you find yourself like, that's not enough, and I'm still in a funk and I'm still not shaking this off, what strategies do you use, or how do you check in on yourself and say, okay, you know what I'm doing isn't enough? How do you check in on yourself?
Okay, before I fully answer the question, shout out to all the Capricorns. We wasn't getting no love.
So nobody
cares about the Capricorns. I love you guys.
Shout out to the Capricorns. Jesus is a Capricorn, so
there you go. See, there you go.
Can we focus? You said Jesus.
No, actually, I said that for a purpose too. Believe it or not, I read a little bit about Capricorns. By nature, Capricorns, and I guess Ken or whoever know more about zodiac signs can tell you, Capricorns are by nature hard workers. They drown themselves in work, and more work. So believe it or not, I was doing the same thing. It would be days even when I didn't feel like working, I would drown myself in work. And it was days I feel sad, happy, no matter what, I would drown myself in work because I feel like I know how to do A to B or A to Z, and I know how to get A to Z done. But while in the process of doing all of that, I too did lose myself because oh my God, excuse me. I'll just be working. I'll be working. And I'm not afraid to share that apart. But then at the time of me just drowning myself in work, and also early on in 2020, of course I was getting promoted here and there. I was moving and growing, but my mom was in and out the hospital. So on purpose, I would still go visit her. But the more I saw her in the hospital and realized I couldn't do nothing, I felt defenseless. Of course I would pray, but I would try to drown myself in work. So I said, I'm gonna push this thought away. I'm gonna just drown myself in work. And just hopefully, prayerfully, she'll get better. But then along the way, I lost myself too. So even in the midst of me posting up positivity, that became almost like mechanical. Oh, 8 o'clock, let me post up this. Oh, 12 o'clock, let me post. So, and because again, by being a Capricorn by nature, work. And guess what? More work. So believe it or not, that's what helps. I had to really piggyback off what Neff said. That's where your circle really matters. Like my brother, my friend, like, Ron, are you okay? Mom's in the hospital. Like, are you good? And I had to step back and be like, you know what? I'm not good. Because I got so caught up in this work. And even then my dad would be like, stay strong. Pardon me, but what the hell does stay strong mean? But do I cry or do I drink? How do I stay strong? Stay strong, son. Because Ken was saying, in the Caribbean community, we don't talk about, if you feel sad, let's talk about it. Hey, Dad, I don't feel too happy. Stay strong. That's not the root. Let's go deeper. You're not gonna ask me a follow-up question. How's work? I got a promotion. Stay strong. Wait, Dad, wait. But that's not gonna help me sleep at night. Son, I love you, but stay strong. So
but how? How?
Yeah, exactly. Like a tree. I got a root. So the band-aid gonna be stay strong. Yes, son. That's not help. So again,
did you find it for yourself? Did you go out there and say, you know what? He's giving me the answer, but not the playbook.
No. Don't worry. I give you the full-fledged answer. So just like your circle matters. So my brother was like, hey, Ronnie, like, let's talk about it. My friends were like, hey, let's talk about your mom being in and out the hospital. Like, don't, I know you missed the positivity, but just put that positivity to the side. No, God bless. No, let's put the God bless to the side. Like, how are you? God bless, stay strong. No, put that to the side. So your circle matters. So I sat down with like good friends and family and just vented. And that helped a lot. That helped a lot. Of course, prayer.
Awesome. So I have a quick question, and we're running short on time. So I'm just gonna say boop, 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 quick answers. Give me 2 ways that you practice self-care. Honestly, for me, I'll go first, so I'll give y'all a little break. For me, it's obviously gardening, because like that's my deal, right? That was easy. Moving on. No, but self-care for me is getting outside. You know, anybody who knows me know that if it's like too cloudy for too many days in a row, or I can't go outside and just play in the dirt, my mood starts to change. Like, I'm just not a nice person anymore. And I'm really in my head. So self-care for me is not like, you know, how people have like self-care Sunday or like, you know, things like that. For me, self-care has to happen on an hourly basis and a daily basis, you know, morning, afternoon basis, because self-care for me starts in my head. I am always in my head thinking and replaying conversations, and did I laugh too much, or should I not have laughed? You know what I mean? Like, I am always, it's a scary place. It's scary. Okay. So for me, self-care is giving myself grace on an absolute all-day basis, and having conversations with myself, but having good conversations that eventually drown out the bad conversations that are already there. So it's saying, you know, it can easily, especially with like mom guilt or parenting things, it can be like, oh my gosh, I didn't cook dinner for the past 2 days and I'm feeding my kids crap. And oh my gosh, this is, you know, you get into a cycle of guilt with that. It's for me to say, you know what, you did your best today, and look at the things that you did accomplish. And tomorrow's another day. And did you give your best to the things that you accomplished? And kind of talking myself off of that ledge. Okay. And that is so while I still have my activities, a lot of self-care, and I want to say that, you know, and I hope people do the same, that self-care doesn't have to be a day. If it is your day, cool. If it's going to the beach like Nev, cool. But for me, self-care is really more about the conversations and that inner voice, you know, quieting my inner critic, if so to speak. So, Ness, come on, tell me 2 ways you practice self-care.
The Sims, and it's supposed to be the beach, but again, I have not been back in a year and a half. Oops. But yeah, The Sims is for sure one, and also I really love television. I have an obsession with television, so I watch a lot of TV. A lot of television. I mean, it's an insane amount of TV that I consume since I was a child. And it's my happy place. So I like to fall into the characters and get too invested where I'm like yelling at them and like looking up theories about them, and I'm really weird. So those are my 2 things, and it's not just a day. It's The Sims isn't every day, but I do sit down like after my hours are done. I set my hours for my company, and I do not work after 7 p.m. I don't care who calls me. I don't care. Coca-Cola could say they want social media from me. Call me tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I'm not picking up the phone. I'm really very serious about my hours. And I'm very serious about my sleep schedule. Sometimes I do stay up late for certain projects if I have to, but then I allow myself more time the next day to get myself straightened off, later on. And also friends, I spend time with my friends. So I hang out with my friends and my boyfriend and whatever, cute things and stuff. Those are my, whatever. Just relax. I'm a G. So yeah, those are
I'm a G. All right, G.
I'm a
All
G.
right. So, Mr. Rod, give me 2 quick ways that you practice self-care.
2020 also started working out more seriously. So working out is one of the best ways I practice self-care. And I could, with that, I will also like to add like eating right. I even did for a short amount of time, I even did like keto. So that also helped. So just working out, self-care, working out, eating right, and Facebook. I use that as a form of distraction, so that helps. Like,
you're the only person who says that.
No,
the
because
only
it's
person
just
who
to
says
distract.
Facebook is self-care.
Yeah, because sometimes I tend to overthink, and sometimes I go on say Facebook or social media just to distract for a little bit. So, but working out,
social media used the right way.
Yes, I try to use it the right way.
So you're saying don't be a creep in people's DMs. You're saying you're saying mind your business.
Yeah, mind your business.
Don't compare your life to other. Okay, got it. I gotta write this down.
Yeah.
Mr. Bangs, talk to me about what you do. 2 quick things of self-care.
2 quick things I do for self-care. So number 1, humans, we're routine-oriented people. So I keep a routine. So my morning routine, I can give it to you straight, right? As soon as I wake up, I give thanks. I say my prayers. I thank God for, a various amount of things which we don't need to go through. And then after that, after giving thanks, I go to the restroom. I do what all of us do in the morning. But as I do that, I'm also writing down my goals and affirmations. So I believe it's called kinesthetic learning. Like anytime you write something down, you learn it because you're thinking it, you're writing it, and you're reading it. So you're pretty much going through the 3 types of learners that you're dealing with anyway. So I write down my goals. I make sure I write down them every single morning. Then after that, I play my little brain games. I play, Lumosity. I play Elevate just to kind of get my mind going. So that way I'm not dragging into my day. So if something happens, my mind is already, solved a couple math problems or solved a couple English problems. It's real nerdy stuff, but I'm ready to attack. And then after that, I do my yoga. I meditate first, and then I do yoga, and then take a shower, and then it's time to get the day started. So by having that morning routine. Oh, also one very, very, very important thing I do, and I suggest all of you guys do it as well. All of you, everyone. I don't want to say guys disrespect gender or anything like that. If you can, stay off of social media for at least the first hour of the day. Try your best to do the hour. Me, it'll probably be the first couple of hours because I promise you, like it's funny that Rod says he relaxes watching Facebook. Facebook can definitely give me anxiety sometimes because there's some real miserable people on there. And the most think about it. Let's rewind. When are you the most miserable? Heading to work. So if I'm looking at Facebook, headed to a job I hate, I'm mad, everybody mad, and you get what I'm saying? Now, like I said, if you do work in social media, then hey, that's your thing. But again, even those people have hours. You get what I'm saying? So you want to wake up and spend the first couple of hours with yourself. And what that does is by me doing my morning routine, I now feel like I've conquered myself, and now I can conquer the day. I've taken care of me off top. I'm like the government. I need my money before you get yours. So I make sure
Come on, Uncle Sam.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna take care of me, and then after I take care of me, now I've poured into myself. Now everybody can now take from the excess. They're not gonna take from mine. They're gonna take from the excess. So that's the first thing I do.
Yeah.
I do my morning routine because humans are creatures of habit, and routine creates comfort. Comfort creates confidence, and confidence creates results. Second thing I do is second thing I do is I this is gonna sound very narcissistic, but I take care of me, like my personal body. So like I'm making sure that I'm using the good soap. I'm making sure I'm using the good shampoo. I'm making sure that I use my shea butter or whatnot. So quick tip: if you ever want to feel like $1 million, get you some raw black African soap. Get you a loofah, wash in that. That's gonna strip all the oils from you. Then you're gonna go on
We
top
get
of
the
it with some,
lesson.
yes. Then you're gonna go on top of it with some shea butter. Okay, at raw shea butter, accurate. You probably got to go to the hair store. If you don't have a hair store in your area, you have Amazon. Black soap. Then after you're done with the black soap, don't dry yourself all the way. Leave yourself a little bit of, a little bit of moisture on there. Put some shea butter on there. Your body will feel amazing. So Deion Sanders always say, you look good, you feel good, you play good. Take care of you. You got to take care of your body. Don't be afraid
That's
to take
true.
care of your body. And then if I can throw one more bonus in, listen to your emotions. If you're feeling the way, your emotions are your GPS. If you're feeling the way about something, it's okay. Like, don't try to happy talk yourself. Oh, it's fine when you see the fire. No, grab the fire extinguisher. Listen to your emotions. Now, don't react from your emotions, but definitely listen to your emotions, because your emotions are your guide, and they let you know when something just isn't right. So that's pretty much what I do. To
Ken,
take
can
care
I
of me.
just say that your skin is glistening?
Okay.
That I just see
We better now.
the glow.
we bet-
Okay,
the Bruce
and
Leroy
it's gotta
glow?
be the shea butter, baby.
Messing up your
But
pillow
that's the
and
word.
messing
And-
up your sheets. She was not lying. It's
you
definitely
know
gonna mess
what?
up your pillow and your
I'm not
sheets.
doing that to my sheets.
I apologize
Okay?
for telling y'all that. It's gonna mess up your pillow and your sheets. So
You should have led with that. They already ordering the
you gonna
black
feel
soap and the shea butter.
you gonna feel so good it don't matter. Just don't get black sheets. You gonna feel so. I promise you. When you feel your skin, you're gonna be
But-
like you're gonna be feeling like Tweet touching on yourself.
all jokes aside, all jokes aside though, but he does have something that if you have something that makes you feel good, we don't say go spend all your money, but you got to allow yourself, that needs to maybe be in the budget. That probably needs to be a line item, right? Where you say, this is for my self-care. I use Bath and Body Works, or I use this or that. And if that's what makes you feel good, if that's what starts your day off right, then it has to be guilt-free. You can't do self-care and have guilt behind it. You can't say, I'm going to watch, today's my TV day, and then beat yourself up for having a TV day. You've got to allow yourself that mental self-care to allow yourself to do those things. Can spend his budget on shea butter, on real unfiltered shea butter, and
Raw
Rod goes
shea
to
butter.
the gym.
The good kind.
And a lot of the things we do for self-care, I don't think people talk about it enough. It's that it takes away time from your family. So there's a lot of guilt around self-care, as if, if I'm going to spend 2 hours at the gym, or if I'm going to devote the first part of my day, no matter how the kids are screaming, no matter, but I'm going to take care of me. There's almost a connotation there, like you should feel guilty about it because you're taking away time for your loved ones. You got to think in the morning or whenever you're doing it, somebody comes to you and be like, I'm refilling my cup. I can't talk to you right now. I'm doing hot girl shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am refilling my cup. And I think that's the bigger theme here is self-care means setting boundaries,
That's true.
All right. So we are short on time and we went over, but it's been a great discussion. I'm going to skip question 6 and go back to question 5. Now, let me figure out because I think we've shared a lot of strategies, but I want to just go back to a healing place. And we talked about a lot of things about how we maintain the good places that we are in now. But I want to talk to you guys, excuse me, I want to talk to you guys about a will and a way. And a dark time, we all have them. Many of us are having them right now. Many of us just got on the other side of a dark time. And all of us are right at the front door of a dark time. If there's one thing that we know about, life and seasons, is that they come every year. They come all the time. And you're either just got out of something or you're about to go through something. And the key that I always tell people is go through something. We always talking about, lead me to the valley of the shadow of death, but we don't sit and pitch a tent there And I think that's where people get it mixed up, that we want to go through something. We don't want to sit and wallow in something. So I want to talk about dark times, a dark time or a difficult time that you've went through. And how did you come out of it? And I think we've given a lot of advice, but I want to know personally about a dark time that you've went through. And I'm doing 2 questions in a row, Kim. Okay. Tell me about a dark time you've been through and tell me how you got out of it, if you haven't told us already. Let's start with Ness. Go ahead.
Well, obviously the dark time was the suicide attempts. And the darkest time was the 3-in-1.
I can't really hear you, Ness. Can you get closer to the mic for me?
Sorry. Obviously the dark time was the suicide attempts in 2017, and especially because there was multiple of them and I was a cutter and it was a lot. The number one thing that I did and I think helped me was I kind of had to lean on myself. And it's such a weird thing to do. You curl up, you stay home, you stay in bed, and you don't go anywhere. And it's really dark. Your room is dark. Everything is dark. You kind of go through a period. What I did for me personally, I just forced myself to just do the little things. And I kind of like how the elephant analogy, like eat an elephant like by pieces, right? So every day was something new. So I would just do therapy and go home. I would walk my dog and go home. I would eat more than 1 meal a day. And then like each day was different. I didn't try to tackle all of bipolar disorder in one fell swoop. I didn't try to tackle all of anxiety in one fell swoop. But every time I tried to do that, I would always fail. And then I would go right back to being dark. So what I did was allowed myself to go through it. No matter who was annoyed with me or who left or whatever, I stayed focused on the journey and the full ride ahead. So it took me about 1.5 years to deal with it. And I made sure anyone who encountered me, anyone I met that was new, I told them, I have this and this is what it looks like. And I would teach the people around me what it looked like. I did start, someone just asked, did I start my business during my dark healing period? I actually started during my dark period because I was in the process of healing, which is why I said it's not the smartest decision I made. And a lot of my friends were like, that's not the best thing to do, but I did. And I think I wouldn't recommend it, but I did it because my job was making it worse. So I was kind of like, either you stay here and you just get worse, or you take forever, take longer, or maybe this might be a way to get to where you want to go faster. And it turned out that actually was the case. Being an entrepreneur, although it looked like it wasn't going to be the thing, but it actually it was the thing to like almost solve my issues, because I was in control of something. It's kind of like what you were saying with your gardening. I was in control. So now if I wasn't successful, it was because I did not do what I was supposed to do. If I missed something, it was because of me. It wasn't because of anybody else. Nobody's boss was yelling at me. It was me. I was my own boss. So yeah, how I got through it personally was that.
Okay. So Rod, let me know about, you mentioned that your mom was in the hospital and that's tough. How did you get out of that?
First off, I want to start by saying that this is not alcohol. This is actually water. Just making so everybody.
We don't believe
oh my
you,
God.
Rod. Answer the
What
question.
are you so positive? It's the alcohol. No. This is H2O. H to the ISO.
Mm-hmm. You see, he did say earlier, he was like, how do I heal? Do I pick up a drink or do I go to the gym? Maybe
Drink of
he
water.
did both, y'all.
Drink
Maybe
of water.
He did both.
Drink of water.
And everybody, we're going to be taking questions next. So we have 2 in the queue already. Go ahead and ask your questions. We're running a little bit behind on time, and I have a surprise for you guys. So make sure you stick on till the end.
So
all right, so tell us.
What helped was staying in prayer, and just venting to close family in prayer. And also during my dark time, I did also like work did consume me, but eventually after talking to like good family and friends and prayer, I became more aware. Hey, Ryan, make sure you take time for you. Like, don't just get consumed with work and life that you don't make time for you. So certain days I would just call out from work or do like a PTO and go to the beach or relax with family and friends and just disconnect. Because self-care is very important. Like you stated earlier, you can't pour from an empty cup. So it's very, very, very important to take care of of your inside. So I just started doing that more and more often. And just
Okay.
living in the moment and being thankful for life. Being
Yes, being
very thankful.
present.
Exactly, because life may not be perfect, but I'm thankful for it. And to count my blessing, because like I was saying, for 2020, I had so many blessings. So I just started counting my blessings more and being aware that, like you stated earlier too, life happens to everybody. Who hasn't been to
Mhm.
trial? Who hasn't been to tribulation? It happens to us all. And that's why we gotta also learn that we're all the same. Even though sometimes, male and female, but we're all the same.
Yeah. And not to discount the experiences of others too.
Yes, correct.
That be kind to
Amen.
people, be kind to
Yes.
people. You don't know. You would
don't.
never, I love Nefertiti says, I don't look like what I've been through.
Yes.
and that just resonates with me so much. I don't look like what I've been through. I don't look like loss. I don't look like mental health and mental illnesses. I don't look like depression. I don't look like, guilt. I don't look like all of these different things. So don't see me at face value and discount my experiences and what I'm going through. It costs you nothing to be kind.
Amen.
It costs nothing to say a kind word to someone. It costs nothing to shut up if you don't have anything nice to say. No,
you're right.
That's my little tangent for tonight, y'all.
Right. I love it.
Finish us out with a bang, Mr. Bang. Come on, tell me about, you're Mr. Positivity too, and I'm gonna challenge you to go deep, sir. Deep, like them roots you was talking about earlier, and just all of them. I don't want your psychologist answer, sir. I want you to go deep into the belly of the beast and tell me. I like messing with you guys.
I'm not gonna holler I'm Mr. Positivity, because that would mean I just think like everything is
no, you guys
rainbows
are
and lollipops.
awesome. You are.
Like I'm definitely a realist. I just try to look for the brighter side of things, but I also address the negative sides as well. I can't ignore them. I used to ignore them once upon a time, and it made me look foolish. My darkest time though would probably be my dad passing. So it's crazy because I'm the youngest, so I grew up pretty much like a mama's boy. And then the summer before 6th grade, he came in my room and he was like, "We're going to work tomorrow." And that was it. Wasn't no conversation, none of that. So from that point on, from every weekend and every summer, I was working with him doing electrical work. So I spent from the summer heading into 6th grade, through high school, through college, and even after college, working with him. So spending all this time with a person, and then when I moved away from Miami to Jacksonville, and then he ended up passing pretty much, because of, old age with a little bit of health, but I mean, he lived a good life, so I'm not gonna do that. And I apologize if I hear the noise. It's my party animal in the background turning up as usual. But yeah, my lowest time was losing him because, again, like Vanessa was saying, I'm that Mr. Positivity person, and I would kind of just try to, block out the negative with positive. I didn't cry about him passing to over a year after he passed. So holding that in for a year, when it came out, it just like ugly cry. Like think of the ugliest cry you could think of. That was me. So that was my lowest time. I mean, I would like to say it's something I'm still getting through, but I hate to sound like a broken record. But one of the things that led me to it was through my reading journey. One of the things I realized was in science, energy doesn't begin or end, it's just transferred. So even if we lose someone, even if we lose a loved one, one of the first things somebody told me is one thing nobody could ever take from you is your memories. And then secondly, on top of that, you start to see that person's energy in other things. So it went from, me being, sad or whatnot, woe is me, to me understanding that, hey, I can look for this energy in certain things and I can remember these lessons and this is going to make me a better person. So that's kind of, what I, how I heal, because I remember a lot of lessons he taught me that I may have digested them then, but I didn't pay attention and they didn't become applicable until I was much older.
Awesome. So let's get into questions. Our first question is from Christina. It says, how do you keep yourself accountable to your goals? How do you keep moving when sometimes all you want to do is curl up? And I'm going to put this question to Nefertiti because I have witnessed her sit here and I know she is exhausted and I know she is in pain. But she showed up for us, y'all, and she showed up with a beat face and a smile on her face, and I just know she wants to curl up right now. Do you see the face, y'all? She's trying. But how do you show up every day? How do you show up for your dreams? How do you show up for the goals you set for yourself so you're not next year looking like I'm still in the same place?
First of all, I don't. Like, I really, if it was, I really don't. I do not. I tell you right now, there are people in this chat who know me, and also they know me and they know when I need to curl up, a bitch finna curl. I'm going to curl. I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to play Sims. I have had meetings lined up and I was like, you know what? Today's not the day. Or done is better than perfect. One of those two things will be said and I will take care of me. I don't force myself anymore. When you do that, you run into that rabbit hole. And I'm telling you, when I tell you I'm not going back to No Baker Act, I mean it. I'm not going back. If I gotta sleep, I'm asleep. One thing about me, I'm gonna go to sleep. This PCOS thing has me sleeping. Yeah, I'm exhausted. And I absolutely pushed through today because I did make a commitment. Certain things you have to kind of push through for people because you made a commitment. And I've done that. Vanessa, you call me up, I will make my commitment. And mind you, I've been in a 5-hour meeting. I had to do a social media presentation in that meeting. And I was tired. I was really tired. And this is in, the conversation is also pretty triggering. I almost cried like 3 times. But at the same time, like, I kind of also look at things in a different perspective. You kind of have to look at what your goal is and try to meet yourself there. You know what I mean? Don't push yourself past your limits. You're not Superwoman. Nobody asked you to be Superwoman. You're a human being. And you need to give yourself grace. We don't ever give ourselves grace. I had a treacherous 2 weeks, like about a month ago, and I just sat and I wasn't productive for 2 weeks. I could only get just enough by. But the one thing I do know is I know that right now sucks, but I know being broke sucks more and it makes it suck worse. And I know that it makes me like more depressed. So I was like, losing clients would suck worse. So you probably should get to work. I know right now sucks, but losing my daughter sucks worse. And because I've lost her before due to my mental illness, I'm not trying to go back there again. So I do what I got to do to make sure she's still okay and fed. Because, you have to feed your children. So I have to do that. I make sure she's taken care of and she's, meeting her needs and following directions. She's like she runs on schedule. So she's great. But all of those things I've learned how far I could go and how bad it could get if I let it go too far. So I give myself grace, but I don't give myself so much grace that I end up hanging myself in the process.
Yeah. And I think we've touched on this in past table talks is that, goals are sometimes not linked to our jobs, right? We have to show up to the job because we want to keep the lights on. But when you set personal goals for yourself and it's like no one else's whole, if you don't accomplish this goal, it's just another regret I have. I'll just pile it on with the other ones, right? But to stay accountable to the things that you promised yourself. I think that's something that I've been working on. When I started working with my coach, one of the first things I said to her was, I don't keep promises to myself. And that is something that you have to work on, prioritizing you in both ways, in that self-care is saying, do you want to go through it now or do you want to regret it later? I forgot who said it. I think it was last week when Andrew told us that, you know, the human experience is either pain now or pain later, you know, and that might not get you up out of bed, especially, you know, we can talk about motivation, but when you add a mental health piece on top of that, you can tell a person all of these things, but if they're suffering from, you know, being in a funk or even a depression, it's not as easy to say you got to get up and just be focused on your goals. That doesn't happen. So I think that what Neff alluded to that said, you don't show up every day, you know, to take that time off and to say, you know, we set a lot of false dichotomies for ourselves. A lot of the times we're beating ourselves up over things and unrealistic expectations that nobody else is holding us to. Our kids aren't holding it to us. Our kids don't expect us to show up and be perfect every day. And I think when seeing this in my own childhood, you know, seeing perfection everywhere I went only led me to grow up to think that imperfection is not an option. I think that's healthy for everybody to see that mom doesn't show up every day. Mom needs a break sometimes, you know, and that she's in tune with her emotion. That'll teach you for them to be in tune with their own, and to stop holding yourself to the standard that you have to show up and be 100%. Neff also said, you know, it's going to be done. It might not be my best work, but, you know, or even if you can't give that level of work you're expected to have open dialogues with people that says, why can we normalize putting mental health days as a part of PTO? Like, can companies start to do that? That is the real thing that needs to happen. Like sick days, vacation days, mental health days.
I actually do that for mine. My employees,
okay,
they have.
So there, all bosses need to be like now.
I'm here for
it. because this is something that really, you know, it takes a lot. So to Christina, I would say, you know, when you just want to curl up. I think what's important is that at some point, when you're ready, you uncurl and get back to business. That it may be a bend in the road, but it's not the end of the show, you know. But even runners, you know, when they running 100 million miles, I don't know why a human being would do that to themselves. They stop and take breaks for water. They calculate that time that they're stopping to take breaks into their average run time. Maybe you take a break before you need one. You know, maybe you give yourself, you know, a little bit of grace to say, I'm going to lay down right now, but I'm not going to stay down. And maybe you have someone hold you accountable to just that piece, that you don't stay down, instead of having you accountable for the whole goal. Yeah.
Right. That's your circle part. That's the piece you have to have in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You've been in bed for like a day or two. You have what can we do to help you get up and get through? What piece can I add to the day to make it easier for you to complete these tasks so that you're not losing your next step? That's important. That's really, really important.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. She said bend in the road, not end of the road. I love that so much. So we're going to wrap up, and I just want to say thank you to you guys so much. We went way over our time, but it was such a great conversation. And since this is the last one, I really wanted us to, and I'm not going to say bang again, but I really do want to say bang again. Thank you to everybody. I just want to share something with you all really quickly, because I said I was going to, and I'm not going to break the promise. I want to wrap up this series by letting you know what next month's theme is, because we're doing it again. It was so successful, and you guys have given me such heartfelt, absolutely beautiful reviews on this series. So why not do it again? This is amazing. So next month, the month of March, our theme is going to be root work. So we're going to do it all over again. We're going to skip the first week. That'll be like that every month. I need a break. So we're going to skip, I need a mental health week, okay? So we're going to skip the first week. The second week of March is going to be Homestead Edition, Root Work Homestead Edition. We're going to be talking, all my gardening stuff. We're going to be talking about, how important it was for you to make a plan, soil maintenance, how to have healthy plants and all that jazz. And if you're not into gardening, you want to start gardening, you want to start, reclaiming your self-sufficiency through growing food, I encourage you to attend that one. Our second week is going to be Hustle Edition, and it's going to, go into your soul work. And when I say soul work, I mean your food, your shoes, the soles of your feet. How do we get moving? How do we get our ideas off the ground? How do we get started before we start making money, right? And then the last week is going to be the healing week, and we are going to be talking about soul work and the work that needs to be done inside of us. And our panelists talked about it tonight, about how they first had to look inside of themselves to start to make a plan to get out of it or start to figure out what their triggers were. So we've got a whole new theme, whole new month. I hope you guys can join us. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of my panelists. Y'all are amazing. And all my panelists for the month. I love y'all, but it's been an amazing month. You guys did so good. Thank you for spending your night with me. Keep going, keep growing. This is Vanessa, Homestead Hustle and Healing, 3H Table Talk. Have a good night, everybody.